Hey guys, today we're going to be presenting amateur music clubs and music and ideology in the PRC. So amateur music clubs. So many people who followed Confucius's ideas believed that music making would help them become what he considered an exemplary person. This is because many amateur ensembles practiced ruyue, which is a type of Confucian-inspired music. They believed that the act of participating in this type of music making exemplified self-cultivation and personal improvement. They viewed it as kind of an extension of their values and religion. So many of these regional ensembles that we've learned about in class are indirectly linked to Ruyue, and these include the Nangguan of the Fujian province, the Jiangxi of the Chaozhou region, and the Hanyue of the Hakka people. And all of these ensembles, as we've learned before, are performed by amateurs for their own entertainment and self-cultivation. So in urban areas in the 19th century, amateur music making in music clubs gained popularity among the upper classes, and the names of these clubs were heavily embodied by Confucian sentiments, and participating in one of these clubs signified a person's taste, class, and social status, and was really highly revered in the society.
So, moving on to the Dongjing music of the Naxi people. So, ethnic minorities in China often adapted Confucian styles of music as a way to define their elite status over those who were considered less civilized and educated, because they continued to adhere to what was considered to be more indigenous ways of thinking. So, as a result of this interaction between the Han and Naxi people, the Naxi have adapted many of the cultural practices of the Han as indicators of social status and sophistication. Some of these factors, or one of these indicators, is music. Beginning in the 19th century, Naxi music troupes began to use Han operatic forms in their performances, and in Dongjing music, the Naxi people developed styles that are similar to the silk and bamboo music we have already studied. And we will listen to an example of Dongjing music now.
So then we move into the music and ideology in the PRC. So in 1949, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, which was led by Chairman Mao Zedong, came to power. And this put into motion a socialist transformation based on the Marxist-Lenin political doctrine and then Mao's own ideas of how this would be best implemented. And Mao and the CCP used emblematic cultural forms to maintain connections between the government and the masses to make them seem more like the People's Party. So many of these projects promoted traditional culture forms, creating new styles and takes on that, rather than continuing to modernize and adapt to Western styles of music. And the government supported many new compositions and genres and approved these styles as propaganda, as music of the party. And continuing to look at that, music was deemed to be one of the most important factors in creating a new ideological identity. The state ideology was soon present in all forms of social and cultural practices, and anyone who resisted was sent to re-education camps or ideological rectification. So as I said in the previous slide, the Communist Party really wanted to create an identity that was all its own for China. They didn't want to take after any of the other Western countries and really wanted to differentiate themselves. And if you did not agree with that, specifically during the Cultural Revolution, then you were really looked down upon and could get into a lot of trouble. And these various forms of musical production, which were embedded in state ideology, were promoted by the government, which caused state ideology to then be adopted and echoed by musicians throughout the country. And as a result, music was closely monitored and controlled by the central government. So if you did not obey their standards, you would once again get in a lot of trouble.
So one of the main vehicles for promoting state ideology was these revolutionary songs. So Gaming Gachu, which are revolutionary songs, are songs that contain explicit political messages written for the glorification and support of the CCP. These songs are designed to arouse the audience emotions and motivate the people to support the government. Their lyrics often contain explicit references to politics, and surprisingly, these songs were usually written in a Western song style. They were extremely simple and are inspired by Chinese folk songs. They were simple because they wanted them to be really widespread so that all the people could understand them. All people, in the rural areas or the urban areas could relate to them and could sing them all together. So these music songs are usually march-like and upbeat, and the melody is usually easy to remember and meant to be sung in unison. They're kind of like a chant almost. And these songs were often a tool that the CCP used to communicate with the people. So they used these songs to communicate their ideas and the ideology with the people. So these songs can often be placed into groups based on their content, and there are a lot of different groups. Some of these include songs that glorify Chairman Mao, songs that praise the CCP, songs that commemorate regions associated with the revolution, songs that promote political campaigns, songs that recount class struggles, songs that promote national unity, and songs that praise workers, peasants, and soldiers.
So, two of the most famous mass songs include The East is Red and I Love Beijing's Tiananmen. The East is Red is probably one of the most famous songs during the Cultural Revolution, and because it was heard so frequently, it was considered the de facto anthem of the PRC. It was played over loudspeakers in every town. Students sang it in school at the beginning of every day. Workers were expected to sing it in union while at work in the morning. Political rallies, public gatherings, and broadcast programs usually begin with this song. So, moving on to the model opera, Yangbangxi. The name Yangbangxi refers to a group of modern jingju that contains newly composed music and highly political plots. Yangbangxi emerged in the 1960s and was endorsed heavily by the government. It was the only music that was allowed to be performed during the Cultural Revolution. Because of this, many regional styles of Yangbangxi were created. And one famous piece of Yangbangxi is called The Red Lantern. It tells the story of a girl who follows the example of her father to carry on the revolution. At the end of the revolution, Yangbangxi fell out of favor because of its associations with the revolution. However, it has made a huge comeback in recent years. It has become an icon of nostalgia and imagination and has lost its association with politics.
So, continuing with the model opera, Mao's wife, Jiang Qing, revised a number of Jingju operas and eventually produced the Hong Dongji and Sha Jiabang, which reflected her own interpretation of communist ideology. So, Jiang Qing's works were first performed in 1964, and it was then that these operas began to be known as model operas or music of the Communist Party. And we have an example of that. So these stories in all the Yangbanxi operas follow similar plots of a struggle between communist soldiers and their aggressors, specifically Western soldiers, and tell how the soldiers attained victory pretty much every time. The plot of Shajiabing is also very similar. It takes place in the town of Shajiabang, which is under attack from Japanese troops, and the town is eventually liberated by the New People's Army, and the opera serves to praise the bravery of both the soldiers and the party. And that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you very much.